No DQ Galaxy. We are live with NoDQ.com's recap of AEW Dynamite for November 23rd, 2022, Thanksgiving Eve. Shout out to the early birds in the chat room: Walter Cruz, Don Boeing, Joey Perez, Calvin Bowman, Girls Not Blue, Nick Glavin, Randy Engel, Darren G. Very much appreciated. And thank you to everybody that left comments for my 40th birthday. Much appreciated. Much love to everybody out there. Now, let's get into Dynamite, which was a very newsworthy show coming off of the Full Gear pay-per-view event this past Saturday. We kicked off with William Regal in the ring. Regal, of course, betrayed Jon Moxley at Full Gear, helping MJF win the AEW World Title. Regal said that we will hear from MJF next week. MJF does not have time to come to Chicago. MJF is on the set of a major motion picture. The crowd was chanting, "Regal sucks. Fuck you, Regal." And I just dropped the F-bomb, but it's Thanksgiving Eve. Maybe the YouTube people, the YouTube censors, are with their families doing something else. I hope so. Anyways, Jon Moxley quickly arrived. He was a man on a mission looking for some payback. Crowd chanted, "You effed up" at Regal. But then we had Danielson running down, Jon Moxley's teammate in the Blackpool Combat Club, and Bryan was trying to hold Moxley back. Bryan talked about how Regal has, yes, done a bad thing, but they've all done bad things. Bryan brought up how Regal has a bad neck, 2 bleeds on his brain, and pretty much begged Moxley to not hurt him. Bryan talked about his dad's struggles, how his dad was struggling for years before he died, and how William Regal was the only person that could help Bryan understand what was going on. Bryan was trying to plead with Moxley to not listen to the people. They wanted to see Regal get his ass kicked. And then Moxley told Bryan to back off. Moxley got in Regal's face and told Regal to run. Never come back. Walk right now and keep on walking. And that's what Regal did. He left the ring, and seemingly for now, he is gone. This was a hell of a segment. I loved it. I thought this was a great opener to the show. We had some drama, which is something we always see in WWE with these soap opera-like storylines. In AEW, we don't see it quite as much, but it's a nice touch when we do. I like the male soap opera drama here with Bryan stuck in the middle, trying to keep the peace. Very well done here. I really enjoyed it, and I'm intrigued to see where it goes next. Now, we do have a $5 super chat from Building Nexus on the topic of MJF. Building Nexus said, if the MJF UFC thing goes anywhere, should AEW run with it? I would hope so. I know WWE would if they got any kind of attention from a UFC fighter. You have this Conor McGregor MJF Twitter exchange. I'm a little surprised AEW did not acknowledge it on television. They did acknowledge Jade Cargill's confrontation with the rapper Bow Wow, but nothing regarding Conor McGregor and MJF, although it did all go down roughly an hour to 2 hours before Dynamite went on the air. I think they should, but Then again, if Conor McGregor has no intentions on ever showing up on AEW programming, then maybe it's best to just let it go. But knowing WWE, they would be all over it. They would try to play it up and say that MJF called out Conor McGregor. Will Conor McGregor ever respond? Will he ever have the guts to respond? And if Conor McGregor doesn't, then it just makes him look like a coward. So we'll see. We'll see if they mention anything next week. MJF will apparently be on the show next week, and we'll see if he says anything, if they actually have a follow-up to what was said on Twitter. And if you missed it, head over to nodq.com for the very latest regarding MJF. Apparently, MJF tweeted mid at Conor McGregor and then deleted it. We had a backstage confrontation between Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. And Keith Lee wanted to know where things stand with them. And Swerve said that he wanted to talk, but without the cameras on. He put his hand in front of the camera, and that was the end of that. So I guess they are going to have a private conversation. We then had our first match of the evening, Orange Cassidy versus Jake Hager, which was more or less a comedy match. Jake Hager put on Orange Cassidy's sunglasses. Orange Cassidy did his thing with the kicks and the mind games. And then Orange Cassidy knocked off Jake Hager's hat. And I guess that hat gives Jake Hager supernatural powers or something, because he freaked out when he lost the hat. And you had the Jericho Appreciation Society out there. They finally got the hat back, and Jake Hager was whole again. You had interference with JAS. You also had the Best Friends out there. And for the finish, Jake Hager applied the ankle lock. Orange Cassidy grabbed the hat again, and Hager was distracted, let go of the hold. Orange Cassidy then hit the orange punch and pinned him with a roll through to retain the All-Atlantic Championship. Now, after the match, we had QT Marshall's factory arrive, and they were looking for a fight. But then all of a sudden, the lights went out. And when they came back on, we had Julia Hart standing on the stage. And in the ring, we had the House of Black officially back in AEW. Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, and Brody King. They beat the crap out of the Best Friends. And not only that, they also beat the hell out of the factory. House of Black completely dominated everybody. Looks like they are going to be faces. Malachi got on the mic and said to the members of the House of Black, please rise, which is very much a babyface thing to do. So looks like they are going to be a babyface faction now that they're back. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Well done return for the House of Black. They are on fire, and one would think that they'll face the winner of the best of 7 series for the trios titles, maybe at Revolution. We had Stokely Hathaway introducing Ethan Page, and then Ethan Page got on the mic and said that Ricky Starks will be crying. Chicago, they will be joining him crying like babies, because he was going to beat Ricky Starks. And that led to our match, the final match of the World Title Eliminator Tournament, with the winner going on to Winter is Coming on December 14th to challenge MJF for the World Championship. Ricky Starks was all taped up, not 100%. You had Ethan Page targeting the taped up area, and you even had Stokely Hathaway interfering in the match, helping to pull Page to safety. Referee, though, was not having any of it, and he He kicked Stokely Hathaway out of the ringside area, and Ricky Starks was eventually able to make the comeback against the odds. He hit not one, not two, but 3 spears to pick up the win. So it is official, as I expected. Ricky Starks versus MJF for the world title coming up at Winter is Coming, December 14th. I'm all for it. Ricky Starks. I'm guessing Jungle Boy will get a match at some point. Maybe even Darby Allin versus MJF. Bryan Danielson versus MJF. Claudio versus MJF. There's a lot of matches you can do with MJF as the world champion now. Looking forward to it. We had a little video package from Wardlow. Wardlow talked about Samoa Joe stealing the TNT title and said that Joe is not the most dangerous man in the room because it is Wardlow's world. I guess we'll see a rematch from them at some point. And we had Jade Cargill interviewed about Bow Wow, but she had no comment about that whack-ass rapper. And we found out that Red Velvet is back with the baddies. And not only that, but Smart Mark Sterling has fired Kiera Hogan from the baddies, in case you were wondering what's up with that group. Well, there you go. They have kicked out Kiera Hogan. We then had maybe the most anticipated segment of the show. We had the second match of the best of 7 series between the Elite and the Death Triangle, the Trios champions. How would the fans react in Chicago to the Elite? Well, the crowd was very pro CM Punk for sure. They were chanting CM Punk, and they chanted F the Elite. Fans back in Newark were chanting F CM Punk, but tonight it was F the Elite. Don Callis was on commentary and said, they love us here in Chicago, huh? There was also footage shown of Penta on Monday Night Football. And yeah, the Elite were totally milking the crowd reactions. Pac's nose was apparently broken. He was wearing a mask. The Elite were totally acting like heels in this. Omega shook the hand of Phoenix, but then gave him a cheap shot. And another awesome match with these guys. And we had several references to CM Punk. For one thing, you had Matt Jackson recreating the CM Punk botch of the buckshot lariat. So he did that. And then Kenny Omega at one point bit the arm of Pac, which of course is a reference to Ace Steel allegedly biting Kenny Omega during the backstage altercation after All Out. And I think it was Taz. Somebody on commentary said, sometimes in a fight, you gotta bite. And then later, Kenny Omega hit the GTS, CM Punk's finishing move on Pac, but Pac was able to kick out of that. Match went back and forth with everybody, and then the Elite took off Pac's face mask to protect his nose. They hit the BTE trigger, but he kicked out of that. Matt hit a low blow to Pac, and then Matt had a hammer, which of course the hammer was used at Full Gear to help Death Triangle win. Matt Jackson was going to use a hammer, but Penta had his own hammer, and he hit Matt with it, and then Pac scored the 1-2-3 victory. What was interesting about all this is not so much the references, but the fact that the references came right after Kenny Omega did an interview with Sports Illustrated and urged fans to let this all go. There's not going to be any answers about what happened. And yet, they keep making the references, getting people talking. And I figured they would in Chicago. You know, you're going to get a mixed crowd reaction at best. So they just completely milked it for what it was worth. And it was fun. It was very entertaining. Crowd heat was hot for this. I mean, they were making a lot of noise. It was fun. It was a spectacle. So I enjoyed it. There you go. Match wasn't at the level of the pay-per-view match, but still a hell of a match and very entertaining with the whole vibe. Then we had Renee Paquette with a massive announcement. She stated that AEW and Thunder Rosa came to an agreement. Thunder Rosa has relinquished the AEW World Championship, the Women's World Championship, which means Jamie Hayter is now the full-time AEW champion, undisputed, no interim championship. Jamie Hayter is the AEW Women's Champion. And also, later on, Excalibur mentioned on commentary that Toni Storm's reign will also be an official AEW Women's Championship reign, not an interim reign. There you go. I mean, the fact that Thunder Rosa, there was no word on her coming back soon. It was looking like a decision had to be made, and it was made. So Jamie Hayter is your official champion. And then we had a not a six-woman tag. It was actually a triple threat women's tag team match at 9:20, their usual time slot. Jamie Hayter teaming up with Britt Baker against Ty Conti and Anna Jay. And they were going up against Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue. Willow and Sky Blue did get in some offense, but it was basically a showcase match for Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker. Britt Baker pinned Sky with the stomp, and it was a standard match. Not too much to note about this one. It was the 9:20 women's match. Get them a spot on TV. Very basic stuff here. We had a little backstage segment with Top Flight challenging FTR for a Ring of Honor tag team title match. Then we had the Acclaimed come into the ring for a promo. They did their rap with Max Caster bringing up how that Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, their nuts were slapped by Sting and Darby Allin. And then Bowens talked about how his shoulder is feeling better. And not only that, Billy Gunn's fingers are feeling better, which means only one thing. But before we could get the scissoring, we had an interruption from Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett was not happy about the name drop, and the crowd started a TNA sucks chant as Jeff was cutting his promo. And then Billy Gunn decided enough of this. He cut off the feed, and then Billy got his big moment, the scissoring with the Acclaimed, and all is well for now, but looks like Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal might be next in line for those tag team titles. We then had our main event for the Ring of Honor World Championship, Chris Jericho defending against Tomohiro Ishii. And it was pretty much what you would expect from these guys. Jericho yelled at Ishii. Ishii slapped him. Jericho slapped them back. They kept slapping each other, rapid fire, and they were trading chops. Very hard-hitting match. Jericho's chest was bleeding from the chops. That's how brutal it got. It was something else to see. And then Jericho gave Ishii a DDT on the apron, and he kept suplexing Ishii. Ishii would pop back up. Jericho hit a lion salt. Ishii kicked out at 1. And then Jericho hit a code breaker. Ishii kicked out again. And then Ishii started a comeback. He hit Jericho with a code breaker and then a lariat. But Jericho was able to kick out of that. And then Jericho eventually put on the Lion Tamer and won the match. Ishii had to tap out. And then after the match, Jericho was celebrating his win when he got knocked out by one Claudio. Looks like it will be Jericho and Claudio in a singles match at the Ring of Honor Final Battle pay-per-view, which is coming up in December. All in all, great Dynamite. They really put on a fun show for Thanksgiving Eve coming off the Full Gear pay-per-view. They set up Winter is Coming. They set up Final Battle. Show went at a very fast pace. I enjoyed it. The trios match was a lot of fun. And yeah, I really liked Dynamite this week. I'm giving the show a solid A. One of the better Dynamites of the year, in my opinion. Lots of noteworthy stuff on the show. So I would definitely recommend it. I think it's one of the must-watch Dynamites. A lot happened on it, and it was a spectacle from start to finish. And I loved that opening angle with Jon Moxley, William Regal, and Bryan Danielson. And they got me interested in next week, too, to see what that follow-up is, what's going to happen with MJF. And to me, that makes the show a success when they can keep you entertained for the 2 hours and then get you curious about what's to come and get you ready for the next show. So anyways, thank you all for tuning in tonight. Very much appreciated. And I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving if you're celebrating it in the United States. And enjoy your weekend. Enjoy Black Friday. Be safe if you're going out there to do the holiday shopping. If that's something you're into, best of luck and be safe. Hopefully it's not like that South Park series of episodes for Black Friday. And that's it. I'll see you guys Friday night for a recap of SmackDown Black Friday edition. Hope you all stay safe out there. And remember, stay safe, of course, and say yes to NoDQ.com. NoDQ.com/merch. Pick up some merchandise. 20% off with the code EARLYBIRD. Take care, everybody, and I will see you all next time.